Okay, my outstanding friends, this is going to be fun. I have been talking about these giant stone balls for quite a while. This is the guy that started the whole stone ball thing, was Sam Osmanagich. He's over in Bosnia. Now, he started this long ago. He's been researching these for a very long time. And he also found the Bosnian pyramids. Now, and he's got all kinds of attractions going on over there. And originally they thought he was a nutcase. That's just the way it works. And then now he's pretty much a national hero, and they're all flocking to his research because it's become quite popular over there. Now, in these pyramids, underneath there's all these tunnels. And I think I can explain pretty much everything that he's got going on there. And the balls, the tunnels, the pyramids, the whole shooting match. And I think it might be a little different than he's thinking. But this is not any kind of, demeaning anything. Because anybody that really looks for something, looks for physical evidence, and then tries to figure out what they're seeing. He's taken this, I think, as an ancient culture that created these things, the pyramids and these stone balls. Well, I have a different approach to it, and very few do have the same thinking as I do, but they're coming around. They are. When I show you, if you could deny it, I want you to deny it with some rational response, not just, oh, you're crazy, that's impossible, that's ridiculous. No. Nothing anymore is impossible, crazy, or ridiculous. Everything is impossible, crazy, and ridiculous. There's nothing that's just simple anymore. You got to look at the details. That's the problem. Nobody's ever looked at the details. So let's detail this and see what we got. Because Sam, my friend there, has some big balls. Okay, before we get started, as you know, I cover really everything in science, basically everything. And I've been talking about these, crazy anomalies on the weather and electricity and light and creatures and the weather patterns and all of these things that are ancient, machinery, basically. They had machines here. I don't care what anybody says. That's long ago, and right on the edge they were cutting slabs to make those walls, these kind of walls right here. So I'm trying to bring a whole batch of things together, one bit and a piece at a time. This is the hair follicle, this gigantic hair follicle. All right, this will freak you out. And of course, there it is again. I got to go over and over this stuff because a lot of people don't see it. Now, this is the case of the mysterious stone balls found worldwide, and that's what we're going to be talking about with Myron. And here is one about Quetzalcoatl and the ancient creatures that like Enoch talked about and Hesiod and Apollodorus. They were here, and they were gigantic, and that's just the way it is. Devil's Tower, totally explained. All of this stuff, pink Himalayan salt, pork ribs, same thing. So there's a lot on my channel to look at, to understand, to get to the point where you understand everything. And you'll understand everything, because there is no big stretches here. You just have to understand, like this here, you see that? I understand what caused that specific spot to be off. And if you look closely at this, you can actually see another little round spot here. You have to really pay attention to the details. So let's get started. And again, no disrespect to anybody, except there's some geologists that claim very, very arrogantly how smart they are. And he called us a concretion, Myron Cook. Which he refuses to engage with me, but he was out in the field of all these balls, and I did learn something from him. He didn't have any idea what he was doing. And Myron. Whoops. I'm sorry, that was wrong. Of course, that's a case where you can be wrong and right at the same time. So Myron was out in this field, and he's showing all these balls like this, and the skin is very good on some, and he goes way up the top of the hill, and then they're all cracked up and broken up in like little slabs. I can show you all that stuff, and I understand why now, why some of them were so nicely preserved and some of them were so poorly preserved, and we'll go over that anyway. But again, this is not disrespectful to a real scientist, which Sam is. The rest of them, Yale and Harvard and all of them, they couldn't care less about reality. It's all about status and funding. This guy here, he's the real deal. Okay, let's start off here. This is phys.org. This goes back almost 7 years ago, from 2016. And this is Sam Osmanagich. And this is archaeologists sees Bosnia stone sphere as the most massive in Europe. And that could be. There are other ones that are bigger, and I'll show you those. But it doesn't matter. That's pretty damn big. Now, what's he looking at here? He says, that's Sam Osmanagich. And an archaeologist is looking at a rock with great interest, a sphere unearthed in a forest believed to be part of an ancient civilization, or is it just a very big rock? Now, here's what happened. Sam, I think, took this as somebody created that big stone ball for some reason, whatever. But he's been researching them. This is back in 2015. He's been 15 years, so he's started researching them around 2000. So he's got some time in the field on these. Now, he says it's the most massive stone ball in Europe had been discovered, and the location is from Portugal or whatever that is. Now, and he's talking about the size of it and so forth, and it comes to be over 30 tons. And why is it significant? Now, he's saying that it's proof that Southern Europe were home for an advanced civilization. That could be. I'm not saying they weren't, but I'm saying that let's take a look at what these stone spheres are before we make that determination if it's an advanced culture or not. I say these are biological, and I'm pretty sure I can show that without much, possibility that I'm wrong. I've been doing this for a very long time myself, but before we get into looking at what he's got to show here, this is what he's showing. Now, don't forget, this is this scale area. Now, can you see right there? You see that little ring? I don't know if you can see it or not, but that right there is where something attached to here and it snapped off. And I will show you what it was. This had a strap coming to it. And they all have a scale on them, which is their membrane. And there's a strap that comes down and attaches, and here's what it looks like when they're actually biologically there. Now, the scale comes right off, that's all. And so there's usually one little central core to them, not always, but sometimes, and sometimes they're hard to see, and sometimes there's more than one core coming down. But primarily you're going to have one of these big stone balls and a little scale removed off to the top, or sometimes they break right here. There's another one here, let me show you, that broke right up here instead of the scale coming off. You see this one? That one broke up here. Usually this snaps right off and you see a scale around there, but for some reason it didn't do that on this one. That's pretty good size. Now in us, you need a electron microscope to see that. All right, and these stone balls are either one of these two. There's these type of tendon enthesis, where they come down and then they fill in with a cavity inside of all crystalline structures and so forth. Or they come and they form eggshells and different things with cross hatches inside, all kinds of different tendon enthesis, depends on where it is in the body. And they are like this too. All right, and there's some of them that go between ligaments, and some of them go between tendons, and muscle and so forth. And some of them are in aponeurosis tendon, which the balls just sort of lock into somewhere in the meatish area, and they're not rope-like. And then you have the rope-like tendons, which are just big long ropes. These come down and they latch in on your back and your sides and your stomach and so forth. They're the tight muscle. They attach to the muscles that form your abdomen and your back and all that stuff. These attach to your arms and your shoulders, and they're the regular muscle that you think of as a muscle with a tendon on one side and the other and a muscle pulling in between. These are a different story. Okay, before we go over Sam's stuff, I want to show you a couple things. A lot of this was known throughout history. You see this map right here? It's the map from 1375. It's called Atlas Catalan Abraham Kresk. All right, you have to look it up yourself. It's somewhere, I don't know where you're going to find it, but this shows the dragon who was Typhon in the desert in North Africa. You see this right here? This is North Africa. And there's Typhon. And there's his throat, his cut right here. This is the dragon's scales. All right, and it goes all the way back, all the way back, all the way back, all the way back. It's just exactly where Typhon is. There's no difference whatsoever. And they show these tents here, down here. And I think this is where Atlantis was. At one time, there was an entrance here there was an ocean here at one time, long, long, long ago, and they must be talking about, I don't know. That's how I'm taking it. Now, there was other dragons up here. Now, this is not in Bosnia. Now, he says he found pyramids. Now, pyramids can be dragon scales, too, because that's a dragon scale. All right, and you see how it has all the little lines in it and everything? And that is from some kind of a small dragon compared to what they're talking about. But it has the blood supplies in it. There's a blood supply here, and there's one right over here that runs through this, and it was tagged in like this and slid along this plane, along the other scales. It's a plate of armor. I mean, just unbelievable, dense plate of armor. And this was a little tab that held it in. All right, and it's got a shape to it, I mean, exact shape to it, where everything fit together perfectly. So this is, and again, I don't know what kind of dragon it was from, but it's a small one compared to these kind of things. But still, I would think that would be pretty good size. Now, we're going to look at this in a microscope, and I'm going to show you the blood supplies and all that stuff and all that. I got to wet it up a little bit so you can see it better. And then we're going to talk about Bosnia here. Now, this is where Bosnia is, over in this area. Now, what this thing here is, I have no idea. No clue whatsoever. But it's over in this area where he's doing his business. Whatever this is something similar over here too. I don't know what this is. All right, but I can tell you what, I'm going to go with this one here being Typhon, absolutely no question whatsoever. And this is the Red Sea. And that's Typhon. They knew about this. This was in 1375. And he's on other maps as well. It's not just this one. So they were enlightened. We have become disenlightened because we think these people are all crazy because this stuff is just so overwhelmingly crazy. But it is. It's just, what it is what it is. And I'm going to show you something. You know what a white blood cell is? Let me show you something first of all. They didn't even know about this layer in our bodies until just 2018. This is a new organ, and it's the biggest organ in the human body now. They just discovered it in 2018, and I literally was the one that discovered it from my mud fossils because I could see them. And I was thinking, what the hell is that layer? Well, that layer is your immune system. Basically, that's where all your enzymes and bacteria, this is a fluid-filled highway. They didn't even know it was here. And this is where you get your immune responses from, going through this fluid-filled highway very quickly. So anyway, that's a whole other issue. But you see these little balls here? You see those? These are pretty much like white blood cells. And they are the ones that squirt the enzymes in, and they go out into this fluid-filled highway to attack invaders. And you see all these little tiny balls. I don't know if you can see those or not. But I'm going to show you a better shot of this whole thing. All right, but this is this new organ called the interstitium. and it coats everything in your body, all your organs, all your skin, your eyeballs, everything. It's basically a membrane that has a fluid-filled highway in there. Anybody tries to get in that's not supposed to get in, they send the troops through there, pew, kill it. That's how it works. That's your immune system, basically, in a nutshell. Now, so we've seen these balls. Now, how big do those little tiny balls get? Well, here they are in somewhere here, right here. All right, this here, let's look at it here. All right, so here's your skin. Here's your skin. All right. Below your skin, you have to have all kind of floppy stuff that moves around, but it's got to come back to where it started from. The balls are the anchors. The pink stuff stretches and does all this stuff. The brown stuff is like a spring and opens up the white, the fluid-filled bag. So you can pull this way and up and down and all kind of gyrations, and you come back to where you were in the beginning, more or less. And as you get older, this stuff gets stretchy and floppy, and then your skin gets weak and all that stuff. That's just the aging process. Now, what does this look like when you really magnify it? It looks like this. All right, this is a shot from back here, okay, and we can see this kind of stuff going on here. Up close, we see all the balls. This is where these balls are, and there are places on Earth where they're just saturated with these balls. Moki marbles are like this. Where Sam is with that giant ball there, I don't think he's in the same situation as this. He's somewhere else, maybe, or else there are going to be a bazillion of them out there, and that's a pretty big ball. But they could be that big. They do get some pretty good size. But I think what he's got there is one that runs down to like an aponeurosis tendon, where it really locks in that big ball, and I'll show you that in a minute. But anyway, this is how many balls there are in one concentrated area when you have this kind of skin. All right, and that's what you're going to see right here. All right, there they are, right there. There's the Moki marbles. That is eroded skin, all washed off the flesh, turned into mud. That's what flesh does. It turns into mud. And underneath you have what they call a basement layer, and in between is all these balls and that floppy stuff that I showed you a minute ago. This is the same stuff here. You see that? That's in the United Kingdom, Hunstanton Beach, or Hunstanton Cliffs. And there's that red stuff with all the balls in it. And it's been washed and washed and washed and washed, and it just erodes away, and all the fleshy stuff is turned into the mud, and all of the white stuff, which is the skin or the mucosa they call it, you can call it either way. It depends on whether it's on a membrane in like around an organ, or if it's like your skin, it's just skin. But it's basically it's a membrane, and that white stuff is just flopped down and eroded over the top of this, and it'll turn into the mud. But the balls are hard; they don't get destroyed. They start to grow things on them. And why do they do that? Because in this red stuff, it's very, very fertile. It has a lot of nutritional value, and these little creatures, whatever they are here, are growing in that stuff. And I can show that very, very well in a second here. I will. As a matter of fact, I will do it right this instant. Check this out. Remember we look at all those stone balls? Come on, man. This is outrageous. Look at them. Look. They're everywhere. There was skin here going forever. And these are the stone balls, and now they are just nothing but little moss balls. They look like little green mice. And it's because there are 12 most mysterious things scientists still can't explain. Oh, I just explained it. Because they still have very good nutritional value inside of them. Some other ones don't have any nutritional value. They've turned to literally metals that don't give off nutrition. These still have the body fluids basically in that ball. All right, that ball is still infused with body fluids, and that's why it grows moss. Moss loves red blood. and body fluids. It absolutely loves it. So here, and I showed you this. Here's the whole shooting match. There it is. This is in reality. This is after all the roads out from these giant creatures, and this is how big they can get. And it gets bigger than that, much bigger. But this is either skin. I think this is probably was skin, just as this was skin. And just like this, I'm sure this was skin. There's just too much of it, you know. I would say skin. This is the other style. I think this is what Sam's got here, is this style right here, with the ball right there, and the stem comes down and locks into the ball. This is called a ponderosus tendon, and they're going to be spread quite a bit far apart, so he won't see like a big mat of balls like this. They're just going to be everywhere. He might see one here, and then it could be another mile down the road, another one. That's how big these creatures were. It's stunning how big they were. Absolutely stunning. And now look at this. Remember I just showed you this interstitium? And these white blood cells, there's leukocytes, they call them. They're white blood cells. Well, they're pretty complex little buggers. Here they are right here. Here's what a leukocyte looks like. Excuse me. And they have all these little organelle things inside of them that create chemistry. All right, you got your nucleus, and then you got all these other little organelle chemical makers, basically, because this is a white blood cell. It has to go out and do chemistry. It needs to go out and kill something. And what does it kill it with? It kills it with some kind of toxic stuff. Well, can we find one of those? Possibly, and yes, possibly we can, if this is what I think it might be right here. That could be a giant white blood cell. All right, this is where the nucleus bumps up, and you see all these colors? That's chemistry, my friend. That is enzymes. Those are chemistry that are creating transition metals. That's just not flowing out of there for nothing. Nobody dabbed stuff on there. This is coming from within. This is a chemical factory, and that's exactly what a white blood cell is, a virtual chemical factory. All right, virtual chemical factory. And I don't see much of a difference here between the two. You can even see the little bumps here and there too that they show. But anyway, this is how things preserve. They preserve just fabulously. And again, this was Sam here with his tab broken off, and this is where the tab is. And they get big, and they get dense. All right, so let's take a look at what Sam had to show. And the other thing is this stuff here. I have a couple of videos, if you go back and look, about how they cut all these slabs. And they had machines here that cut them. Now, this looks like it might have been done by hand. I don't know. But the other ones, there's actually, you can see the tire tracks and its tank treads and all that from antiquity when this stuff was soft. Because this was all done when it was soft. This was not hard when this was done. That's why all those walls in Peru and all that stuff, they fit together. They took one and bloop, and it just locked right in there like a piece of putty. And they took another one, put one here and one here and one here, everywhere they want. And it just fused in together. You can't put a dollar bill between it, or a slip of paper in between it. It just can't be done. They're just so tight because they were moist, and when they fit together, they just fit together. There's places on Earth that are just gushing blood. If you go to Vermilion, I guess it's State Park or whatever, but it's Vermilion Cliffs, I think they call it. It's out in West United States. It's just saturated with blood, guts everywhere, intestines, stomach lining, And nobody can explain any of it, so they just say, wow, this is amazing. You know, well, it is. And it is. I'm not saying it isn't amazing. I'm just saying everybody says, well, how did this happen? How did that happen? But as soon as you tell them, they don't want to know. This is all blood. That's just all very, very strongly, you know, preserved artery blood. The red blood is artery blood. There's going to be a black area here somewhere that was the black blood. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this was from, but it's no question whatsoever. It's biology and it's blood. That's why it's just iron oxide. Well, that iron is what blood is. Now, Sam is going to be talking about tunnels and everything underneath these pyramids, and I got to take that they might be dragon scales, and the tunnels and all that they're blood vessels and arteries and guts. Pretty much, if it's in the scale area, they're going to be just arteries and veins. And I have it in this one here. It says arteries and veins as well. And I'll show it to you. You'll see them in a microscope. In his, they can walk through it because it's a little larger. See, this is the part that I think Sam needs to take a little look at. He's saying that he examined granite stone balls in South Costa Rica, volcanic stone spheres in western Mexico, Easter Island, and then he turned his attention to Bosnia, where he said, if the huge stone in Bosnia is found to be hewn by human hands, it would be the largest man-made stone ball ever found. Twice as heavy as the Costa Rican ones, said Mail Online. Now, and then it says, do other experts see the rock formation as proof of an ancient civilization which thrived there? Voice of America reported that some scientists said the rock was likely a natural formation and not a human construct. Well, let's dig into that, because it is natural, but it is from a creature. Now, let him address that, because now I have evidence to support what I'm saying, not just that it must be made by humans because it's so perfectly round. No, I can show you what perfectly round things are, and they are made from biological creatures. Of that, there is virtually certainty. Now, let's see what else we can talk about. Sam here, hold on. Okay, this is Sam, and he's showing some of the details of the stone. Now, what I want you to look at is the little dimply, wrinkly look to the surface of this, and then the scale that surrounds the dense part of the center. And he's going to point it out quite closely. You're going to see some moss growing into this, which, you know, you could say that's normal, but I see it as a sign that it's attaching to some blood. And now here he goes, watch. I have the sound turned off because they have a language I don't understand. Now they're just pointing things out now. You see this round spot right here? That is the central core where this thing came down, and I believe there might have been a vein and an artery coming into there. Let's see if... But that's the central core. Now, you see this right here? That stuff is nothing more than the scale that surrounds, just exactly like this. Now, this is not one of these. This is, I'm not exactly even sure what it is, but it is another body part, and there's the vein and the artery in this one, and this is the internal part, and that's the scale, exactly like this, no difference whatsoever. All right, because everything is coated with something, everything that was alive. Now, you see all these little dimply looking pockets all over here? He's going to come right up and look at it close. You see these squared off looking things right here? That's nothing more than scale. And all of these are the little pockets that are in a tendon ball that has all those little pockets, and they are filled with biology because that's where the blood infused into it. Now, this is the scale, and they all have a scale around them. Now, you must be talking about something here. I have it running a little slow. Let's see if there's anything else we can see here. All right, let me just stop it right here. You see how it's cracked right here? and the other side was perfect. As a matter of fact, let's go back to the main shots. Okay, this is from an article about Sam, and he's claiming this is these gigantic pyramids, and he could be right. I think it might be dragon scale, and when I see it, I see some things that I'd like to investigate. Is this spot right here? Whatever that is, I have no idea. I have no clue what's going on there. But this, I think, could be something just like this, which is a blood vessel at the side of the dragon scale. All right, because this is also a dragon scale from some dragon. I don't know, a smaller one. I think I might have shown you this already, but this is where it tabs in right there. You see that tab? And it locks it in, and then they slide among the other ones in these grooves. I mean, this would be like armor plating a couple inches thick. This is pretty serious protection. You know, and you see how you see this little wrinkly spot here, and you see the spot right down the bottom? This has exactly the same thing. This wrinkly spot, and then the blood coming out at the bottom right here. Virtually identical. And of course it is also a pyramid. So I think these stone balls and the pyramids, and of course the tunnels under the pyramids, which are, I believe, blood vessels, and this has them too, and you'll see them in a second in a microscope. Okay, so Sam is being attacked, as everybody does when they put something forward. His claims have been overwhelmingly refuted by scientists, but he has proceeded to promote the area as a tourist attraction. Direct study of the site by geologists, archaeologists, and other scientists has demonstrated that the hills are natural formations known as flat irons. Natural formations. You want to see what a flat iron is? The flat iron is nothing more than a dragon scale. Look. What formed those? Oh, they're natural formations. Yeah, why? Myron Cook was showing flat irons. They're perfectly, absolutely flawless dragon scales. And he's, oh yeah, these are flat irons. We know how they do this. This is happening. He is unbelievable. And he says, no, he won't talk to me. I told him, I said, I can just explain this stuff. And he said, we have nothing to talk about. Well, these are the kind of minds we run into. Look, these are flat irons. These are dragon scales. These are dragon scales. These people are crazy. Oh yeah, natural formations. Yeah, why different colors? And why in these patterns? It's absolutely insane. The geologists that we have put our faith into. I'm not kidding you. It's really, really crazy. This really would be hilarious if it wasn't so insane. They laugh and call him a crazy person for saying the dragon scales, but they say, oh, these are just flat irons. That they mean nothing. They're just flat irons. Well, let me show you some other flat irons. You want to see some flat irons? There's some flat irons. Those are naturally occurring? I don't think so, because they are at the tail of Typhon. You see all those flat irons running along there? That is his tail. And this is the blood running out, because there's blood running down into here, and it's running out of his decaying body. And this is his dragon-scaled tail of flat irons. And then they run all the way up to his other neck up here, which is nothing more than more flat irons. All right, his whole body is here. Here's his legs coming down. We were just back here with his tail, where there's flat irons. And now we come up here, all the way up to his neck, which happens to be coated with dragon scales. Oops, I mean flat irons as well. Gee, there's more flat irons up here. All right, flat irons. And they go all the way up his neck. Naturally occurring. On dragons, they're naturally occurring, actually. Yes, that's true. And they come all the way up, and this is where his neck was cut. And the ancient texts say it was cut by Zeus with his great and mighty sword. And then, of course, more flat irons. Naturally occurring flat irons. Now, I say that Sam Osmanagich is, he's right. It's not just some silly thing, but I say it's more than likely dragon scales. And they're just, because they're calling them flat irons, these are dragon scales, so I don't care what they call them. Now, we're going to look at a dragon scale right here, and that's where the blood is. And again, I saw a picture showed where all those trees were growing, and then it was also growing quite well right down here, right next to it. And that's what I look for, is where the biology takes place, in the red blood. I love red blood. You'll see this in a microscope in a second. I got to get it soaked up a little bit, and then we'll take a look at it. And again, this is the crust. This is the crust of what he was looking at, of that big ball. Okay, perfect timing. I just got this from my friend Erico. This is about Occam's razor, which means it's a principle that says take the simplest solution that has the facts that fit the situation. Now, I have the simplest solution is its biology is completely backed up 100% in every single way. But faced with these facts, people that are indoctrinated to feel a certain way about science say, oh no, that's not science. Yes, it is. It is literally science, and that's exactly what they say here. And it says, often taught as a jumble of obscure theories, just crazy stuff, complex equations, science can overwhelm students and it just drive them away because it's just all nonsense. It makes no sense. However, portraying science as a method to find simple explanations, you go through the things. For our world's complexities, we have a very complex world going on, using experimentation, mathematics when necessary, and logic and observation could make it accessible to all, including politicians. Well, politicians, they're on their own, they're never going to get anywhere. But because that's all self-interest and status and, power. I'm looking at just general knowledge. And that's not allowed now. Today's world is riddled with pseudoscience. Misinformation stems from a poor grasp of science. They would say, I have a poor grasp of science. I have a better grasp of science than anybody currently breathing oxygen. My boss used to say, that ain't bragging if it's true, and it is true. Anybody want to confront me on any one of the topics that I've made claims on, come on down. It's a crow or some kind of bird flying here. I was looking, I thought it was a gun battery or something pointed off here. Oh, you got to look at the details. Now, remember I talk about blood and stuff. Look at this pattern. You see this here? Here, and then this real growth there. Basically, this is basically the same thing as this. You see this pattern right in the middle here? And then the blood running over here. Same thing. Blood is where it really grows. See? And then you got this blocky looking thing that goes over here. Almost exactly the same. And this is, of course, I'm certain this is a dragon scale. Now, the blood goes in here and it comes out down the bottom here. All right? To feed into your next, there was some kind of a blood supply going to the next scale that would have gone here. It's pretty cool. I think it's very cool. And so let's take a look at it on the microscope. All right, this is this dragon scale, and the microscope is up here, telescope, microscope looking down. Now here it is right here. That is just blood running right out of there. All right, so I put water on it, and they rehydrate very quickly because blood rehydrates very, very easily. So this plane going up this way is the dragon scale. Now we're going to look from the underneath side. All right, I figure what the hell. Let's do the catalase test while we're here on that spot. So I'm going to put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide on, and I can see there's a lot of blood there. I don't think there's going to be any problem getting a reaction. Look at it go. Look at it bubbling. Look at that puppy go. It's saturated with enzymes. Now you see maybe a little bit of bubbling here and there around the other side, but where you have veins and arteries and specifically membranes, the membranes don't turn real bubbly like that. The membranes turn like a fuzzy color, and you'll probably see it around here if I let it go long enough. But I'm in a hurry, so I'm going to just get out of here. It's quite obviously that's blood. And that's exactly where it came from, that spot I just showed you on the side of the dragon scale. And I think that's what's growing all of that really green stuff up at Semir's pyramid. All right, this is basically the same, I think the same spot is like here. All right, where all this stuff is growing real good because of the blood. Now, let's take a look at the bottom, which is this spot right here, which is more blood. You see, it's all layered. This is some serious biology here. And look, it slides in and out from somewhere else in here, sliding like that, with a scale like that. Can you imagine trying to get through that? All right, this is the underneath side, and it looks to me like the black and the red blood. Now, somehow that had to be able to slide along with something else, because apparently that fed the next one down or something. And that's this spot right here. Whoops. Well, since I took it out of the scope, you can't see it, but here it is right here. That slide right there, and that was what we were just looking at, the bloody spot. Now that has to slide back and forth something, I would think. In another, something was down there. And the red blood had to go with it. All right, if you remember in the beginning, Semir had he was poking around at the edge of that ball and showing the crust. And this is the same thing. This is up here, and then you go down here. I'll dig down with the microscope. Hold on. Whoops. You see where at the bottom, well, that's a good shot. We can see both pretty good. This up here is the crust, and down here is where the inside of the ball would have been. And this here is a different situation. It's this thing right here. It's that right there. Same thing. It's they have a crust on them, and that crust is feldspar, and that's what he's got on his too. Okay, my outstanding friends, I think I've shown you everything that you need to see. Merry Christmas to all, and I appreciate you interested in this, and interested digging deeply into it, not just oh, look at that. And that's all I got for years and years. And a lot of times it wasn't, ooh, look at that, ooh, look what an idiot this guy is. And I still get that. I got the thing where somebody went up to Moron Cook's page. Oh, I'm sorry, Myron. Again, you can be wrong and be right at the same time. Anyway, he went up to his page and posted, have you seen any Mudfossils? And the guy's a nut job, he's crazy, and all this kind of stuff. Well, Myron just said, all he does is look for patterns. Well, I look for patterns because it's biology. He makes things up, literally makes just crazy things up. And I try to engage with him. He says, we have nothing to talk about. Well, because he won't address my questions and say, well, why is this biology here? Why is it blood running out of here? Why is there an artery and a vein here? Why is this, anyway. It's easy to make things up, and say, I'm a geologist. Well, that means nothing anymore. I'm going to tell you right now, that means you are literally brainwashed if you continue on with the geology that you were taught. Absolutely menticided. Menticide means you're brainwashed. Anyway, Merry Christmas to all, and unwash your brain.